You grew up in a small city in Gujarat. Tell us about your childhood.
The thought was that I'll join the family business. Three Idiots में वो dialogue है that मेरा बेटा engineer बनेगा. But it was a little difficult for mine.
When you were in science and decided to do commerce, फिर वो CA करना था वो भी drop हो गया. How did you handle the situation and conversations at home?
Was always a very combined choice. It wasn't कि यार I only wanted to do this.
Tell me more about your journey in US.
You know that element of independence and sort of managing your own self, even if you
Welcome to a brand new episode of Beyond the Degree. In today's episode, we have someone who is an author and an entrepreneur. Please welcome Hetansh Desai to our episode of Beyond the Degree.
Thank you, Hardik.
This episode is brought to you by Vital20 Communications. Hetansh, welcome to Beyond the Degree.
Thank you. It's good to see you so well dressed.
I'm sure you're happy to see me dressed for a change.
I would not comment on that.
All right. So, Hetansh, let's deep dive into your life journey so far. You grew up in a small city in Gujarat. Tell us about your childhood and from there to where you are here today.
So I was born in Bhavnagar and brought up in Rajkot. And I had sciences in grade 9 and 10. And at that point in time, the thought was that I'll join the family business. So if you know Three Idiots में वो dialogue है that मेरा बेटा engineer बनेगा. So it was very easy for Farhan Qureshi's dad, but it was a little difficult for mine because 9th and 10th, it was decided I'll join family business. Then I shifted to commerce and wanted to become a CA, right? And so the next 2 years were मेरा बेटा chartered accountant बनेगा. Then I shifted to liberal arts. And that was my 4-year undergrad. And at that point in time, the thought was that, okay, you know what, I'll pursue economics in LSE. So there was a new version. That also did not happen. Then I went to the US for a year for a master's degree. And at that point in time, I was supposed to come back and work on a smart mirror project. And that also did not happen. So you had multiple versions of what I will do. And then finally, I ended up being in advertising.
So, the family business was the original idea. And tell me something more about your education at a place like Bhavnagar or Rajkot.
Yeah, so it was at Rajkot. I was at SNK. So it was a school जहाँ पे they used to encourage us to participate in extracurricular activities, be it any recitation competitions or any sporting event or any cultural event. And I think it was a school that really focused on holistic education rather than just getting the grades. And I think that also, I'm sure, would have helped in shaping up everyone's personality who was a part of that school. And it was a small place, so it was I have a very fond memory of those early years because the school and home, they were just walking distance, so just 5 minutes, and
That's a privilege.
That's a privilege. And you are in that innocent phase of life, and it was all really nice and very simple and uncomplicated.
So, when you were in science and decided to do commerce, फिर वो CA करना था वो भी drop हो गया. How did you handle the situation and conversations at home? Like typical Indian parents will not be happy. They all want their children to do science for whatever good reasons. फिर science से commerce में CA. And did they ever question themselves or question you कि भाई तू कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा life में? Did that thought ever come at that point in time?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate with my parents. They have never really questioned me or never really pushed me into doing something. So I think when I took science or when I took commerce or whatever it is that I did, was always a very combined choice. It wasn't care I only wanted to do this. It was something jo, hum ghar pe we would talk about it, and then we would discuss, and then we would do something that's looked like the best choice at that point in time. And I think that way they've always been very supportive actually, and they were always very confident that eventually something
कुछ कर
kuch na
लेगा.
kuch to that'll happen.
But were you very competitive in your childhood by any chance? And
Yeah, extremely.
तो फिर कभी इनसिक्योरिटी नहीं हुई कि मैं इतना कोर्सेज चेंज कर रहा हूँ, आई माइट बी लेफ्ट बिहाइंड इन द रेस ऑफ लाइफ?
So I don't think I was insecure. I was until date maybe very competitive, but I thought, see, when especially when I was doing sciences, so I'll tell you why I took science.
Yeah.
The thought was maybe I wanted to shift to commerce from grade 9 itself.
Okay.
In the ICSE board there is that option.
You can choose it.
Yeah. So but वहाँ पे ना क्या हुआ, I went to my principal with my mom and she said कि you should not take science.
Okay.
And वो I like you should not tell me that, right? I mean, if I will take commerce, I'll take it because I want
to
it, right?
do it, but now you have told me, so I'll
Now
prove
I'll
you
take
wrong.
science. So that's how I took science.
And 2 साल बाद did she tell you I told you so?
No. I mean, then I didn't even go to her. I mean, I think I had like respectable 85 in grade 10. That was after struggling through 9th and through 10th, right?
Okay.
So it was just the boards when I had scored decently. But then I was like, yeah, maybe I'll do commerce. And I think those 2 years, actually, I really flourished in commerce because I think that was always the calling. So I think that was a great time. I think even in college, I would think even though I was shifting from sciences to commerce to liberal arts.
So I'll come to that. So I mean, commerce mein normally the degrees are your BCom, BAV, BBA along with the professional course degree. Liberal arts is a little unheard of. Little touch upon what the degree is all about and what prompted you to do that degree at PDPU.
So see, even after grade 12, I really didn't know what it is that I wanted to do in life. So here was this course, which is a 4-year course where for the first 2 years you study 32 different subjects.
Okay.
And that includes, your sciences, your maths, some subjects of commerce, filmmaking, Spanish, theater, you name it and you have it, right? So basically what really attracted me was the fact that not only could I push the decision of what I wanted to do by 2
By
years,
a few years, okay.
but also that one would get to explore a variety of subjects. And life I think happens unplanned because that's where I actually fell in love with writing. I think had I not been on that campus with those people, I think maybe writing wouldn't have happened. So then
जो भी होता है अच्छे के लिए होता है. Somewhere holds true. Sometimes you question your decisions. कि मैं, why am I stuck? Like maybe at that point you were comparing, benchmarking with other friends of school and with that you had, and you were not very sure. Some people are very confident कि मेरे को यही करना है. And then after 2 years you found that eureka moment for yourself.
Yeah, I always believe that nothing is random. I feel like this universe is a perfectly...
There's nothing called coincidence.
No, it's a very perfect place, you know.
Okay.
So what happens is, in that moment, you might not understand why something happens. But I think every person you meet, every experience you have is adding a missing piece of puzzle to yourself.
Okay.
And life always doesn't give you what you want, but it gives you what you need, so that in that journey you can assemble your pieces of puzzle and become what you're meant to be. So I feel like, there'll always be moments, but because this journey is messy, right? So 1 + 1 can be -1 or 1 crore.
But I think that uncertainty somewhere brings excitement in life, and if your life boring ho jati hai.
Absolutely.
And you had to go on a train journey for 15 days where you met an amazing person in your life like me. Tell me something about why did you take up the Jagriti Yatra, and what is your takeaway? It's been almost a decade that you did it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think someone from my college, one of my seniors, I think had been on that journey, on that yatra, and he said, I have to go. So that's how I applied, and then were we in the same compartment? No.
We were.
We were. So the yatra, 500 people on one train, and that goes through different places where you study social entrepreneurship models. But I don't think it's so much about the social entrepreneurship models as it is about the journey itself, you know, wherein you have a very small little tiny compartment where you have people who are unhygienic like yourself, and you have to put up with it. And this is in peak winter, December and Jan, where, you know, and these are all sleeper class compartments. Apart from the ones who are managing it, I believe they get a better facility. I think, yeah. But I think for us, it's sleeper class and it's peak winter, and very difficult to even get some water on that train. So you have to eat what they give you. You know, you are with 500.
But I think the food was pretty good, warm, hot.
Yeah, I
across
think
all 15 days on a moving train. So
yeah, considering that it was a moving train, I think it was good food. But you know, for someone who I mean, at least I'll talk for myself. I think you know, from the life that I had led, those 15 days were very different,
Were difficult.
in a lot of ways. And I feel like and maybe I can even talk for you, I think some of the best friendships you're able to build on that
On
that yatra, because when you're also going through a little discomfort, for the lack of any other word, a little challenge, and you have a lot of time on your hand, I think, and when you have most people who are with you in that.
So I think that also relates to a typical life story, right? If you want to test your compatibility with your friends or better half, go on a trek or something like that. In difficult moments, how people react and handle those situations defines a lot of things for us. And I think that's where it clicked for a lot of people to make some good friends on the yatra.
Absolutely, and I think it also gives you a sense of you know, sort of a feeling that you can do anything. If you can do this, you can really do anything.
So any particular incident episode from the yatra that you still recall with a lot of fond memory, apart from the amazing song that we had?
Which song?
Yaro Chalo.
Yaro Chalo, yeah.
Yeah, I have a good recall value, Mr. Desai.
Yaro Chalo was good. I think I have I have a lot of vague memories of a lot of different. I think I clearly remember Deoria, because I think it was so extreme to look at a place where you didn't have toilets, and you know, there was just rampant uneducation. So I mean, you know, just I think that place makes you feel that we can be very comfortable in our living rooms and talk about India, but the real India lies somewhere else. So I think that's a memory. I think
is that where the tale of two Indias come from also, right? Somewhere.
It
and
does,
look at Mumbai for the example, right? Next to every high rise you see a chawl.
Yeah. So you have the highs and lows of Mumbai connected.
Yeah.
So I think Deoria I remember. I think Goonj I remember. I think we went to I think the Bangalore one I remember. And I think then we've had this 31st night party on the train. On a moving train. And then I think it also went through some little dangerous areas. If
the Bihar and Jharkhand locations where even the buses were guarded through security and all that. So yeah.
But yeah, I think you have these memories. But I think what you really take away is the spirit that you know, it'll be fun to see if we can do it again.
Do it again? Oh, right. We'll come to that in a while. So, Jagriti Yatra, do you think that 15 days somewhere changed your thought process, at least at that point in time, in terms of the direction of life that was there? And would you recommend someone to do a yatra today?
100%. I think anyone I meet, and if I'm close enough to maybe share my thought and maybe push him or her on that direction, I would definitely say Jagriti Yatra is a life-changing experience. So, I mean, there are no two ways about it. Did it change my thought process in the sense, career-wise, probably not, because I was anyway by then decided of what it is that I wanted to do next. But I think, you know, it will change your personality somewhere. It'll give you something, you know, some experiences that will stay with you. I remember, I think once when we didn't have any water on the train, we'd formed this long chain on one of the stations.
Human chain at the station. Correct.
And then we were just passing
the bottles
water.
and the
So I think those things definitely stay back with you. The friends that I think we've got some idiotic friends that we've made, but I think
the feeling is mutual. But yeah.
No, and just not you. I mean,
I'm talking about the common friends that we have, of course.
So, so I think friends remain some I think it changes your personality also somewhere. It changes your thought process as well. So I think all of that, I'm sure, did happen.
So I'll tell you, when I came on Yatra, I had just come out of a startup which didn't really work out well, and I had pushed my Yatra by 1 year because of that. और फिर जब second बार आया था, I was in a phase where I wanted some break from what I was
This
doing.
is Service Sathi?
This was ठीक कर दो
ठीक
at
कर
that
दो.
point in time.
But
So-
then it was rebranded to...
later on.
Okay.
So that was Service Sathi. It was way late in my life. So then the Yatra happened. And for a while, the Yatra lingered on in terms of, the thought process, the ideas, connections, and network. But then the reality of life happens, right? एक दो महीने बाद you get back into the regular metro commercial life of yours. और वो रह जाता है. And sometimes somewhere you are still in touch with friends, you still discuss about it fondly, but some of these ground level realities, they just remain part of the story or journey you were part of, but nothing happens in that direction. So yeah, that's been the Yatra story for me. But then from Yatra to Boston, so from Bhavnagar, Rajkot, Ahmedabad, the Yatra on 15 days to America. How was that? What was the
So
idea?
I'll tell you, I did not even want to go abroad.
Okay.
And it was my dad who pushed me, saying कि this will complete your education and life experience. I'll tell you, the first round I actually skipped.
Okay.
The day on which my virtual first round was supposed to be done, I think under some excuse that I made up for everyone, I just didn't even appear for it. And I think it was after a lot of persuasion that
Or blackmailing.
Persuasion, I think, that I actually gave it. And I think I would just say it was by God's grace that, that happened. And now I realize actually, because, in retrospect, you see how something...
You join the dots backwards.
Yeah, you join the dots.
And you figure out it was a good decision.
Good decision. It sort of, gives you a different perspective. If you've lived at some other place, you understand your own country better. And I think we are such a closely knit family that it was very clear from the day I boarded the flight that I'm going to come back.
Okay.
And maybe it's the romantic, foolish India love or whatever it is, maybe the India that we saw in Jagriti Yatra. So I was very clear. So I was there for a year. I think that, and I would think US as a surrogate mother in that 1 year. So I think that was also an experience that gave you a lot of different perspective.
So we'll get to there. I mean, the idea of coming back was already predefined in your case. So like even I was born and raised abroad. Then I came to India. I somehow stuck around for last 15, 18 years now. For me, the reasons were very different. Tabhi I wanted to explore myself, be independent. Tell me more about your journey in US. I think the typical mindset is that yaar abroad ja raha hai, matlab fancy lifestyle and stuff like that. But the comfort that people have in India in terms of a lot of things at our disposal is not there in US. You have to struggle for everyday requirements to met on your own.
Yeah.
So a little bit on that.
I think the first day, when we landed and you are jet lagged and all of that, you still moved into a new place and you realize there is no way you can ask for anyone to help you with anything.
Correct.
So I think on that first evening, while back in India, we might have thought, once we land, we'll do so and so. We were actually just fixing our beds.
Okay.
And because there is just no other way you can sleep on a bed, right? So I think from that sense, that element of independence and sort of managing your own self, even if you're in India, you have an uncle here or there, you have a friend here or there, but it's just so different there. I think the food that you have, the way you need to manage your own life out there is something that I think, if possible, everyone should experience, because kind of, when you're with a lot of people here, in some sense you get a little spoiled.
So I think from an Indian family perspective, I always recommend to all juniors or family members that at least 1 या 2 साल the child should stay away from home and not in the same city. चाहे बॉम्बे से दिल्ली बैंगलोर हैदराबाद भेज दो if you do not want to go abroad, but at least let them stay away from family. That comfort and convenience of breakfast in bed, your clothes are washed magically,
Yeah.
khana mil jata hai at all times, whatever time of the day you come in, versus trying to figure out everything on your own. It changes you a lot individually, and then you start respecting the people around you a lot more.
In all ways, I think emotionally, financially,
Everywhere,
socially.
everywhere. So I know I had a very close friend, back in school. तो he moved to US और उसका भाई वहीं पे था. तो वो जब वापस वेकेशन पे घर आया था ना, तो आफ्टर डिनर he picked up the plate
and he washed it
and put it in the
Yeah.
wash basin, जबकि उसके भाई ने प्लेट टेबल पे छोड़ दी थी.
हाँ.
And like that's a very small
Very
thing,
small.
but a stark difference in terms of how you build and respect people around you.
Absolutely.
And
I think even the basic etiquettes of opening the door for someone,
Correct.
letting the other car pass
True,
before
true,
you. So I think
yeah, no honking abroad.
no honking. I mean, that's considered. So, not only is that considered disrespectful, but if I sort of flash my light, it means I'm asking you to, move
aside,
first.
Move aside. Yeah, yeah. And also the fact that, if you go abroad, people will naturally smile and say good morning to
Yeah.
you. If you do that in India, you sound creepy for that matter at times, right? ये भाई
Correct.
कौन है अनजान इंसान जो ऐसे smile कर रहा है?
So I think at least US back then was a warm place.
Correct.
I've heard mixed things about a lot of European places, but I think US was at least a very warm place.
Yeah, I've spent a couple of weeks here and there in US, and I've had all good experiences
Yeah.
in US for sure. So no matter what people hype in media, I think in general people are nice
Yeah.
across at all places. So I know you had pre-decided that वापस आना ही है. But once you went there, was there any kind of peer pressure, change of thought, or 1 second of thought कि यार maybe, just maybe, I should try making a life over here? So coming back to India, did you think about taking a job, or you want to start off something on your own?
I was supposed to do a smart mirror project. I also decided not to do it.
How did you get your first client in advertising?
You had to take the portfolio that the design studio had. First client that we had, I think they were paying us 1,000 or something.
Jewelry, normally you will see the bigger brands spend a lot with brand ambassadors. So how did advertising marketing come for jewelry that way?
I was talking to jewelers and non-jewelers both. But I think for jewelers, eventually